Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about two more components of VPC, that is basically security of VPC. Component is security group and NACL. NACL network access control list. Okay. In this video, we will discuss theoretical part of NACL and practical demonstration we will do in the next video. If you remember, whenever we create any EC2 in VPC, so where there we configure the security group also. Practically we have done the security group to adding the rules according to the requirement. Still we will revise everything practically also in next video and completely NACL. Today we will discuss theoretical concept of security group and NACL network access control list. What different points, what are the rules, everything we will discuss here. Watch it very carefully. It is very important topic for the VPC security, in the cloud security you can say. Okay. So what is security group? That act as a firewall that control the traffic for one or more instance. Suppose you can see it's a one subnet, public subnet within the VPC. Whatever the instance we create here, one security group work for that. There can be multiple instances. So security group that we configure control the traffic, what type of traffic we want to allow for this particular instance. So it's a virtual firewall. You add rule to each security group that allow traffic to and from its associated instance. Whatever the instance we associate here with a particular instance, so what type of traffic is allowed to and from this particular EC2. So we create different rules. Please watch previous video also. Wherever we create the EC2s, VPC within the VPC, within the subnet also, everywhere we configure the security group. Okay. So AWS firewall that control inbound and outbound traffic into the AWS resources. Traffic can be restricted by any IP protocol, port number, IP address. Okay. So we can restrict the traffic with the help of protocol. Please watch previous video. We have done that practically in all the videos of AWS, whatever we created. We create different EC2 and we add security group rules there. Rules are stateful. Very important point. Rules are stateful. Means if we allow inbound traffic, inbound means traffic coming from outside to this particular EC2. If we allow that, naturally outbound traffic also allowed. We need not to create explicit rule for inbound traffic, that is coming from outside to my EC2, and outbound traffic going from my machine to my EC2 to internet. We need not to create explicit rule. In the security group, if we create one rule, inbound and outbound both are allowed. So that is a stateful. Hope clear to you this point. If any doubt, please write me in the comment. I will try to reply you there on the comment. But very simple, virtual firewall we can restrict either on the base of IP, protocol, port number and IP address. and rules are stateful. Stateful means if we allowed inbound, automatically outbound will be allowed. No need to create explicit rule there. So these are rules in detail about the security group. By default, security group allow all outbound traffic. Okay, always permissive is allowed. Whatever rule we create for the allow basis. Security group are stateful and can modify the rules of a security group at any time, and rules are applied immediately. What do you mean by permissive? What does it mean? Whatever rule we create, that is for the allowed. Means you cannot create any deny rule here. By default, in the security group, everything is denied. Everything is denied. So we create only allowed rule here. You cannot create any rule like deny in the security group. By default, everything is denied there. So you need to give permission there. That is allowed permission always. You cannot have deny rule. Okay. So you can modify anytime. Stateful I have explained you. Permissive I have explained you. And you can modify group rules anytime in a security group. And rules are applied immediately. You can watch here one thing. My VPC that I created in AWS. Inside that, subnets. Security group is for the EC2 within the subnet. Whatever EC2 working there, so security group is the EC2 within the subnet. Always keep it in mind. There is a big difference between NACL and security group. So right now we are discussing about security group that work at the instance level. Okay. So whatever we create, everything is default. Inbound traffic is by default. All inbound traffic is blocked here, and all outbound traffic is allowed by default. Nothing until unless we give any permission, we create a rule, allowed rule, nothing is allowed to enter into the EC2 level. But outbound is okay. No problem for the outbound traffic by default in the security group. So for the different EC2s, either it is the same subnet, either it is the same subnet for different EC2s. We can create multiple security groups here. We can create multiple security group. So according to required, like it is the app server, have the different permissions, and my database server have the different security group with different rules. So depending on organization, you can create multiple security groups here and can connect with different EC2 there. So it is about the security group. Now the most important topic is the network access control list, NACL. What is that? Optional layer of security for a VPC that act as a firewall for controlling traffic in and out of one or more subnets. That is totally optional. By default, everything is allowed. By default, everything. Whenever you create a VPC and EC2 instance, one default ACL is also available there. Like in the security group, by default, everything outbound is allowed, inbound is denied. But here in the NACL, by default, inbound and outbound, everything is allowed by default. Okay, so by default, everything allowed. You might set up network ACL with rules similar to the security group in order to add additional layer of security to your VPC. Either security group is working there at the EC2 level, but you can add an additional layer there also. It is a additional layer of security to your VPC. So now the one more difference that I want to discuss, work at the subnet boundary. Listen carefully. Security group work at instance level EC2s within the subnet, but firewall work at the subnet boundary. Means complete subnet. There can be multiple EC2s there. So firewall work at the subnet level. By default, all inbound and outbound traffic is allowed. In security group, we can create only allowed rule, cannot create any deny rule. But here in ACL, we can create allowed also, we can create denied also, and are stateless. Security group is stateful, means once inbound is allowed, outbound automatically allowed for that, need not to create explicit rule. But in NACL, we require to create both rule, inbound and outbound, requiring explicit rule for both inbound and outbound traffic. It is a stateless. So one NACL is by default there, and you can create custom network ACL there and associate it with a particular subnet. Clear? So subnet you need to associate. Okay, so stateless require explicit rule for both inbound and outbound traffic. Now, theoretical, so long theory, but important. Basic thing that you need to know about NACL, either theoretical but very important. Every time I say this to you, on all the topics, I take one theoretical session and then practical demonstration. Here also, we will discuss about ACL theoretically first. Next session, we will do the practical. So let's start all the topic one by one. As I told you, VPC automatically come with a modifiable default network ACL. So whenever you create a VPC, one ACL automatically comes there. And by default, all inbound and outbound traffic allowed. It allow all inbound and outbound traffic for IP version 4, and if applicable, if there is IP version 6 also, so there also everything is allowed. You can create a custom network ACL and associate with a subnet to allow or deny inbound or outbound traffic at subnet level. Again, I'm repeating, ACL works at the subnet level. Security group work at EC2 level. So we can, by default, one NACL comes that is modifiable, but you can create custom ACL also and associate it with a particular subnet to allow or deny specific inbound and outbound traffic at subnet level. Each subnet in your VPC, whatever the subnet you create, must associate with the network ACL. Whatever the subnet you create, you must have to associate it with the network ACL. If you don't explicitly associate a subnet with the network ACL, as I told you, one is a default and one is a custom ACLs. You must have to associate your subnet with a particular NACL. If you don't do that, if you don't associate your subnet with a particular custom VPC, it automatically associated with network NACL, default NACL. Got the point? If you don't associate your subnet with a custom NACL, it automatically goes to default NACL. You can associate a network ACL. You create one ACL, it can be associated with multiple subnet. Little confusing, but simple. NACL can be associated with multiple subnets. However, a subnet can be associated with only one NACL at a time. NACL can be associated with multiple subnets, but subnet can be associated with only one NACL at a time. When you associate NACL with a subnet, the previous association of the subnet is removed. Means I told you, subnet can be associated with only one NACL at a time. If you associate with a different NACL, the previous association of the subnet goes. Hope all points are clear. You have to keep it in mind, all the points, whenever we do practical demonstration of that. One more point. A network ACCL, NACL is has inbound and outbound rules. Means you have to create inbound rule also and outbound rule also. Each rule can be either allow or deny traffic. So when we create NACLs, we create with a number like 10, okay, 20, 30, like this. Every NACL rule that we create have a number 10, 20, 30, whatever. So numbers start from 1 to 32,750. 766 maximum. This number can be start from 1 and maximum can go up to 32,766. We evaluate the rules in order starting with lowest number rules. So whenever NACL start working, it start with the lowest number and goes to upper number. Evaluation. First it check rule number 1, it is allowed or denied. Then check for second port number as well as IP address as well as other things. Specifically port number, IP address, starting IP, source IP, destination IP. Okay. So it start evaluating from top to bottom. Actually, I want to say here, I have a complete video series on access list separately, where we have discussed each and everything in detail. Either that is on the Cisco CCNA, but basic concept is maximum same as we are discussing here for the NACL. That is also access control list for the Cisco router. That is a practical evaluation demonstration also there. But basic rules are same here and there also. I will give the link in description. Please must watch there. And also in the info card. So rules start evaluating from here, from top to bottom, lower to higher number. Wherever the rule match, it will not go proceed first. Like here on the 10, we give one rule, deny all IP TCP, deny all TCP. After that, you keep allowing everything. Allow HTTP, allow HTTPS, it will not work. As soon as rule match, it execute. It will not check further. If the traffic match a rule, the rule is applied and do not violate any addition rule after that. Wherever the traffic match, it immediately rule apply and does not go further to check another rules. So be very careful when you're creating the rules by number, what should be allowed first and what should be denied. If you first deny, then allowed, that no use. First you allowed, then deny, then also not use. So be very careful for the numbering or order whenever we creating a NACL. It is a number based system. Here. So we comment that you should start by creating the rule is in increment. For example, 10, 100, so that you can insert new rule later if needed. Suppose you create one rule here by the number 10, then 11. But suddenly you analyze that there should be one rule in between that, there is no space. So what is the better way? Create the rule like by the increment of 10, then 100, then 200. So if later you want to add some rules here in the list, you can give the number here, you can give any number like 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So you can add multiple numbers here. So always create the rule by the increment of minimum 10, what I recommend, maximum 100. Okay. So hope numbering system is clear to you. Very important to evaluate the rules. Minimum number, the lowest number is first considered for the evaluation. If the rule match, it will not go further to any rule there in the NACL. You can add, remove rules from default network ACL by creating additional network ACL in VPC. The same thing that we have discussed. So when you add or remove rules from the network ACL, the change are automatically applied to the subnet that it is associated with. You just change the rule in the ACL, it automatically applied with the associated subnet. Just read all these things, try to listen and understand carefully. Next time when we do the practical demonstration, everything will be clear to you. Here are some rules. I will not go very deeper. Rule number, then type of traffic that you want to analyze. You want to go for SSH, you want to give add some rule here for telnet, for HTTP, anything. Protocol, which particular protocol working behind that. Port range, whatever you want to give. And source and destination IP range. You want to give some specific IP range, or you want to allow complete range, or anyone. And then what condition you want to apply there. You want to allow this traffic and you want to deny this traffic. Please, I'm recommending again, watch the complete ACL videos in my CCNA video series. I will give the link in the description and the info card. It will be more clear to you there. Okay. So watch here. I have shown you like this diagram in security group also. So you can see here now ACL is at the subnet level, not instance level. Here also and here also you can watch it is working at the subnet level. So these are some example I have given here. Repeating the topic, work at the subnet boundary. All allow all inbound and outbound traffic by default in a VPC are stateless. Require explicit rule for both inbound and outbound rules. Like here we have created separate inbound rules and separate outbound rules. What is allowed and what is so recommended for a specific network security only, whatever we require here. Lastly, sorry, I'm giving you a table here to demonstrate the complete difference of security group as well as NACL. Give the clear comparison of group and NACL. As we discuss, security group work at instant level, NACL operate at subnet level. Very rather than entire theory also, I have given you the comparison here also. Apply to an instance if it is associated with the instance. Apply to all instance deployed in a associated subnet, providing a additional layer of defense if security group rules are too permissive. Support allow rule only, allow both, allow rules and deny rules. Evaluate all rules before deciding whether to allow traffic, but evaluate rule in order starting with lowest number value rule when deciding whether to allow traffic. We have discussed all these things. It is a summary of all the things we have discussed previously. Security group evaluate all the rule in the list, but network ACL start evaluating from top to bottom, minimum to lowest to highest number of the NACL rules there. Stateful, return traffic is allowed regardless of the rule. Stateful, if you allowed one thing, then inbound and outbound both are allowed. But in case of NACL, you have to give the explicit rule for allow and deny for inbound and outbound rules both. Hope now clear to everything. Okay, na? Look here. Security group is working at the instance level. NACL working at the subnet level, private subnet and public subnet. Everything is here that I'm explaining again and again to make you more and more clear. After going from here, then it go to internet gateway and then go to the internet. Clear? So it is all about security group and NACL. So hope you understand that. If I have any doubt, please must write me in the comment. I will try to reply you that also. In next video, we will do the practical demonstration of NACL. So hope you enjoy this video. Thank you very much. Keep watching.